Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fairmont State University and the Presidential Speaker Series. I'm Brian Selmeski. I have the privilege of serving as Chief of Staff. And today I get to introduce the man who will introduce our speaker. John Wilson is an alumnus of Fairmont State University and a member of the Fairmont State Foundation Board. And it is my privilege to turn the mic over to him to introduce Morgan O'Brien.
Thank you. I graduated here in 1988 and made my way to Pittsburgh, where I began my professional accounting career at Deloitte Haskins & Sells. I was with 26 other people that first day we walked in, and 3 of us were assigned to the same mentor, Mr. Morgan O'Brien. So Morgan took the time to work with me, to develop me. I was a non-traditional student. I started here at 26 years old as a father of 3 sons, and it was a little different path for me. But Morgan continued to work with me. I got the excitement of going to visit clients, so I didn't just do the tax return, he let me help deliver it. After a couple years, Morgan moved on to PNC Bank. And at that time, I was able to continue to work with the folks at the firm, but Morgan kept his role, even though he'd left the firm, as my mentor and became my friend. And after a while, there was a job opening at PNC that he thought I'd be great for, and he helped me get to work at PNC, and I spent 13 years there. I watched Morgan then move on to Duquesne Light, Peoples Gas, and now with Hope Gas. My grandfather was a well tender for Hope Gas in Calhoun County, where I spent part of my life growing up. So for folks, let's welcome Morgan O'Brien with a great Fairmont welcome. Thank you.
So part of my story, and hopefully I'll try not to bore you with it, is I'm learning West Virginia, and so came here. The president, huge fan of what's happening here at Fairmont. Obviously, a lot of really exciting things. And I truly expect to walk in here and not recognize or see anybody. And John's one of the first people I saw. And the world's small, right? Let's just say it that way. I've been blessed my whole life. I've got to know incredible people. And I don't want to say John painted a picture of West Virginia for me, a kid who grew up in Pittsburgh. But my impression of West Virginia has only gotten stronger. And I would say John's probably one of the first really close friends I've had from West Virginia. And so that fire's still going, and it's gotten brighter. And as John said, so I'm with Hope Gas. And truly today, I just want to tell you a little bit of the story of the people I get the privilege to work with at Hope Gas. It's 127 years old, and I promise not to tell the 127-year story. My story started about 3 years ago, and I saw, I'll just say it, I saw incredible opportunities here in West Virginia, and I convinced a bunch of smart financial people to not only invest in West Virginia, which we'll talk a little bit about, but also to believe in it, to believe in the future of it. And you know, and it's funny, I say it all the time. People ask me, and I know the president here, it's ironic, right? Neither of us are West Virginians, but I'm sure we all saw that. There's something special about West Virginia, and it starts with the people and the students here. It's exciting to see the world they're going to be faced with. I know people dread the world sometimes. I live in I'll just say it, maybe a cocoon, but I live in a part of the world that says tomorrow is going to be better than today, and West Virginia's best days are still ahead, right? And that's a story that hopefully young people especially can help bring to life. And so Hope came here, in our 127 years, we were, you know, I say it's a long story with a bunch of different chapters, right? You turn the chapter and this story and that story, and John's grandfather worked at Hope Gas down in Grantsville, West Virginia, and it's one of my favorite shops, and I didn't even know his grandfather was there, but it's one of my favorite places. But Hope's had a lot of different owners over the year. And we came here and literally we bought the company from Dominion Energy, and they had actually changed the name of the company to Dominion Energy West Virginia, right? And so all the grandfathers who worked at Hope Gas, right, when we came, we said we want to bring the name back, right? That name means a lot to people in the communities, and we want to, I'll just say it, live up to what people in West Virginia expect from West Virginia companies. And I'll just say it, in the 3 years, I think we've done okay. There's moments, you know, we've probably stumbled and fall, right? That's what companies do, but we pick ourselves back up. And part of our story when we came here was that in 127 years, it's one of the few times the company was actually headquartered here in West Virginia. And historically, you know, it's been run different places. So when I came here, I was excited to say that we were going to bring lots of jobs into West Virginia, that some had never been here and some had left decades ago. But in our first really full year, we doubled the number of employees in West Virginia, all from jobs that were either in Ohio or Virginia. We got the jobs, but not the people, so we hired people here, and that was exciting to see. And I'll just say this, so I've been in the energy space a long time, but really on the utility side, and utilities really touch families and really touch businesses, and if you, I'll just say it, run your business the right way, you can be a positive and really make a difference in the community. And so we started, and my employees, right, have been part of a lot of different chapters, even though, you know, long-time Hope employees. And so I had to educate them on who we were going to be. And I'll just start with the first thing we did. We asked our employees, we said, we don't want to be Dominion's values, right? A company's values are really important to who you are. And so we surveyed the employees in West Virginia, and we're in 35 of the 55 counties roughly. So we touch a lot of places here in West Virginia. And I remember the survey came back, and it was the first time, maybe ever, that 97% of the employees that worked here in West Virginia shared the same values. And my question to them was, when you look in the mirror, who do you see? And my view as a leader was that the culmination of all those values is really who Hope Gas is. It's not Morgan O'Brien. It's not a corporate image. It's the people that do the things that you depend on every day. And so 97% of our employees picked 3 values, and it was faith, family, and integrity. And it was funny, when I say that, I'm not from West Virginia, people say, that's West Virginia, right? And I say it all the time, and people chuckle like a little bit of you are doing. And we've sort of, I'll just say that, used that to say that's who we are, right? And I challenge my employees all the time that when we hire people, they need to be like them, not like me, not like my executive team, right? They need to be like them and have those same values, right? They got to be able to work beside them. So anyway, one of the first things we did with those values is we said when we hire people to do work for us, we're going to hire West Virginia workers, right? And not only that, but we're only going to hire companies who pay people a family-sustaining wage, right? I mean, that's the battle in this whole country right now, is we've lost the middle class, right? And West Virginia, like where I grew up, the middle class is who you are, right? So my employees felt really good about that. And so 3 years fast forward, where all procurement used to be done out of Virginia, and people came to West Virginia from all over to lay pipe. This year, 2025, 100% of our pipe replacement is done by West Virginia building trade workers, right? And for this year, so we've got 1,100 West Virginia building trade people laying pipe here in West Virginia, and paid family-sustaining jobs, supporting communities. Many of them are my customers. Many of them are important in the communities we serve. And so the story of educating people that infrastructure, you know, you heard about infrastructure legislation, whether it's roads, whether it's bridges, for us it's the pipes underground, creates jobs, right? Meaningful jobs. And if we're, as business leaders, right, really hold ourselves, I'll say, with a purpose. And so now, I'll just say it, my employees feel really good about who Hope Gas is, right? we're not only keeping you warm in the wintertime, right? We're also hiring people in West Virginia, supporting those communities with standards, right? I'll just say it, a lot for us to be proud of and my employees to be proud of, right? And again, true to our values of who we are. One of the, I'll call it, I came down here and I preach West Virginia. I'm not from here. I say things that I am dying for West Virginians to scream, right? This is a unique place, and in my industry especially, it's energy rich, right? And I have business up in Ohio, and we have like data centers and power plants being built in Columbus, and they're good customers, so like I'm not saying anything bad about them, but I explained to Governor Morrissey, if all those plants and all that opportunity came to West Virginia, their energy prices would be lower, and they'd be lower forever, not lower for a day, because this is where the energy comes from, and they have to pay transportation to get it to Columbus, and so no matter what, it's always going to be cheaper here, right? And so in this world where everybody's saying we need more energy, like this is a world like West Virginia has to be successful. We just have too many natural, I'll just say it, advantages to other places. And I'm doing everything I can as a, I'll call it, I joke with everyone, I'm still waiting for a West Virginia family to adopt me so I can stop saying I'm not from West Virginia. But I'll just say this, I challenged it recently. And you know, I work with a bunch of amazing people, but we are a regulated utility. And when we started this, I've telling the public service commissioners we're going to do great things, and they said to me, Morgan, you want to do great things, right? There's some issues here in West Virginia, like we need your help on. And I'm like, that's who we want to be, right? So we took over a bunch of pipelines, and you're going to get educated more than you want on utilities, but it's important to me because you're the recipient of what happens at the end of this. There's gathering pipes and distribution pipe. Gathering pipes are built by producers to take gas from a well to take it to market, right? In West Virginia, those pipelines, many of them are hundreds of years old, right? And over the years, there's 15,000 families who depend on those pipelines who are run by a producer, I'll just say it this way, who all he cares about is getting his gas to market, doesn't care on a cold winter day if that customer has gas, right? I mean, I shouldn't say doesn't care, right, but it's not part of his business model. And so over the last couple years, I just said to my employees, right, we have all these families that depend on that. This is what we're good at. We should acquire them, right? And so we solved a big political issue here in West Virginia. The producers were at war with the state government because those customers, who was going to take care of those customers as producers would just abandon wells. And so we came in and we said, we'll do that, right? But we said it's going to cost more. We're going to spend money. We're going to invest it. So here's the good side of the story. Last winter was one of the coldest winters in West Virginia history. And there are 15,000 people on 3,000 miles of pipe. And John, in case you don't know what 3,000 miles of pipe is, if you started the Jersey Shore and ran a pipe across the United States to California, it's about 3,000 miles. That's just here in West Virginia, these customers on this producer's line, right? My employees last winter worked incredibly hard, took great pride. There wasn't one customer outage, major outage, on that system in the coldest winter, right? We spent a lot of money, we did a lot of things, right? But it's who we want to be as a company, right? So long story short, we also, at the same time, invested $200 million in a pipeline that takes gas from out of state, well, I'd say in-state here, Trans-Canada Pipeline, and brings it into Morgantown. And I know Fairmont is close to Morgantown, but if you're in Morgantown like me, you watch a hospital get built like every 6 months, right? New hospitals, new hospitals. I came here and I said, how do we get these guys gas? And they're like, we don't have enough gas to feed all these hospitals. So we built this pipeline, $200 million, right? And what happened immediately was producers started drilling wells who had nowhere to put the gas. Now they had a pipeline. It's about a dozen wells, Marcellus wells, that are getting built that create revenues for the state, royalties for the landowners, and they paid for the pipeline, the $200 million pipeline. Customers didn't have to pay. Today, we have 2 pipelines into Morgantown that never before, right? A lot of good things, but we had to file for a rate increase recently. And I was joking with one of the legislators here saying, the way government works, no offense, is you have to ask for a lot more than what you want and then get beaten down and come back to a reasonable place. And it's not unique in West Virginia, it's everywhere. And so, we're sitting here saying we're a company of values, we're a company that cares about the communities, we're doing these good things, and by the way, we're raising your rates outrageously, right? And I kept wanting to say, but I'm not legally allowed, that it'll be okay, and I promise, trust me, but I'm 3 years from Pittsburgh, and nobody should trust me, right? But last week, we reached a settlement, and it's a much, much smaller rate increase. It's about $18 a month, which I don't take for granted that that's, I can reach into all your pockets and take $18, and that's not going to be paying. But we have done, I'll just say it this way, the bill with that $18 is actually lower than when I started. So it's an 18% increase, but we've been dropping the bill since we've been here by buying more and more local gas, right? We're lowering our bill. So I wasn't allowed to say that during this process. So it went up $18 a month, and that's $18 you didn't have last year, but it's more money you have in your pocket than you had 3 years ago when we started, and it's not even close, right? And that's, I'll just say it, hopefully a better story. Nobody wants an $18 a month increase, but again, it is a lower bill than it was 3 years ago. But on top of all this, right, and I know John's a WVU fan, and I'm in the wrong place, we announced that we were putting our name on the West Virginia Coliseum, and I'll just say this, I started working on that project about 3 years ago when I came, and we said, we want to be West Virginia's energy company. I don't want it to be confused with AEP, who's in Columbus, American Water, who's up in New Jersey, UGI, who's up in Pennsylvania, even First Energy, who's over in Akron, right? We're Hope. We're here in West Virginia. We are your West Virginia company. You call my office, somebody in Morgantown answers the phone, that person lives in your community, right? That's what a West Virginia company is. But you also invest, and I call it an investment, in things that are important to West Virginians. And Fairmont's an incredible university, it's an important asset, but people live and die, a lot of people, with WVU sports, right? That investment is actually going to help them be competitive in the crazy college basketball world. So I felt really proud about it, but at the same time, we had this rate case going on, and it was really bad dynamics. And I'll just say it, that's all on me. You can manage certain things, and that one we didn't do a good job managing. But at the same time, I'll just say it this way, we're proud of who we are. We're proud that we're going to invest here. We're proud we're a West Virginia company. We're proud we're creating jobs here. And for us, I know our conversation tonight is going to focus on keeping young people here in West Virginia. I look at all the jobs I've created here, and there's more to come. But what happens for the next generation, right? I'm investing in pipelines that are going to last 50, 60 years. My employees don't want to last 50 or 60 more years, right? And I need to not only educate people on the opportunities that are here in West Virginia, but how to open the door to get those jobs, right? And that's one of the things we've committed to. I actually have one of my executives here, Laura. You want to raise your hand, Laura? Laura is starting something we're calling Hope Academy. And I just have to say this. It's like if you became CEO of Nike, everybody loves Nike, right? How do you not love a company called Hope, right? And you can put Hope in front of anything. It's like deep fried. You can deep fry anything, John. You put Hope before something, it's good. Hope Academy. And what it is, a lot of our workers are blue collar. They're we talk about middle class workers. We're actually working to partner with the VOTEC schools around the state to offer gas programs. We were building a world-class training facility here in Clarksburg, again, in West Virginia, training by West Virginians who know how to operate that system. And we want to bring young people here, create summer jobs for them, create an avenue. How do I become something in the gas industry and I don't go to college? This is a doorway, right? And that's what Hope Academy is going to become. And I have partnered with a bunch of energy companies who don't have Laura on their team and don't want to do all the work that it requires to get education started. So we are going to create a platform that we're going to leverage with the entire industry in the state. And then this past year, which is really relevant to this evening, we started in-house an internship program, right? We had kids from every college, Marshall, Fairmont, WVU, and we wanted to educate them that you don't just have to work outside in the cold, and you don't have to be a welder, you don't have to learn to operate heavy-duty equipment. You can be an IT specialist, cybersecurity, an engineer, you can be a human resource person, you can even be an accountant. And those are all good jobs, right here in West Virginia. And so we are just starting a path working with great institutions like Fairmont to allow those kids to come in the summertime and learn a little bit about what's it like to be in the energy side and not necessarily be in the field and be the technical person. So we have a vested interest in that being successful. And just like we invest in pipes, we invest in the equipment that runs our system, this is a key, I'll call it, investment in the future workers, right? So that's our story. We're just started, and I'm excited to be here. I consider my job a gift to me, and everything I do, I hold myself to the same standards that anybody would when you got employees who say, you know, faith, family, integrity, that's who we are. I try never to live down to anything below those high standards, and we're creating something that we hope is really special and can help really drive West Virginia forward, because we're huge believers in the future here and the opportunities here. And we're so excited to begin our, I'll just say, conversation tonight, but it's a conversation that we want to keep going. So thank you for this opportunity, and I appreciate the chance to tell you about Hope Gas. All right.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. For those of you who haven't been to one of these before, we'll have a fireside chat, but then we'll open it up to the audience for questions. So start thinking about things you might like to discuss with Morgan. I want to start, and this is really where you started too. Neither of us are from West Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I interviewed at Fairmont State, what I kept hearing about Fairmont State is Fairmont State's underrated. People don't know about us. Right. We're the best kept secret, all those kind of things. I said, guys, stop keeping secrets. And then, university presidents typically last places 4 or 5 years. So people say to me all the time, well, you're really going to stay? You're really going to stay? And I said, part of it is I think West Virginia is also underrated. Yeah. And I think sometimes it takes people from the outside to come in and see what it has to offer. So what have you seen, since you've been here?
Well, and it's funny because I do believe this. People in West Virginia, and I say this, I think it's your greatest strength, and it's like your biggest obstacle, are humble. They're just humble people, right? So one of the things I've done, and it's just, I'm not the smartest guy in this room, and I don't even pretend to be. But I listen, and I think that's what leadership is, right? So I spend one day every single week out in the field with the people that work for me, and we have breakfast and lunch. And so it's 35 counties I get to see West Virginia, and every shop I come up and I say, your town's so beautiful. There's incredible character, there's these beautiful mountans, there's a river stream. And they all look and like, yeah, I guess it's nice, yeah. And I'm like, do you not see it? This is incredible. It's not being polite. It's truly understated. And I have nephews, right, who literally said to me, we want to go out to Colorado, right? We want to explore, we want to hike, we want to do, the canoeing and rapids. We want to do all that. And they can't afford like a 1-bedroom apartment. They can't afford meals, right? And they tell me about this, and I look at their photos, and I'm like, West Virginia is more beautiful. It has all of that here. And by the way, you could buy a house, you can pay for a meal. And by the way, the restaurants here are unbelievable. Like, there are unbelievable places. And so I sometimes I feel like I'm seeing things that aren't really here because it's so humble and underspoken and taken for granted. And John would explain to me that his family's been in the same town for decades and generations. And so it is sort of a matter of fact. But I mean, you see so many special things here.
When I got the job here, we have students from all 55 counties.
Right.
So, we really represent West Virginia. And when I got the job here, I said, I'm going to visit all 55 counties in my first 2 years. So coming into this summer, I was missing 6 counties.
Okay.
So I rented a camper van, and I slept in the van for a week and hit those final counties plus a dozen others. And that's what I found is people were really proud of where they were from. And I also found that people really wanted us to invest in them. So when I was traveling, I kept hearing, nobody from higher education has come into our towns and asked us what we need.
Right.
They say, you come in and recruit our students, but that's it. That's the times we see you. So we're working really hard to try and figure out how to do that. Can you talk some about how you're doing that in the 35 counties that you're in?
Yeah, and it's I truly believe, like, so that we did the Coliseum, and that's a big deal, and it's like, may not have been the perfect timing with my rate increase and everything else, but we've done a whole lot more that I'm actually more proud of. So one of my employees, right, and people know, sort of how to play you sometimes. I'm sure your employees have figured you out a little bit, and they said to me, hey, I coach a basketball team, down in Lewis County, and would you come down to watch my game? And I'm like, yeah, definitely. I'm here during the week, and I'll just support your team. And he says, the gym's really run down, and the lights don't work, the scoreboard doesn't work. And I go there, and I'm like, and his team is competing in the state playoffs and very successful program. And we have this thing, right, that we really truly believe that, like, West Virginia's best days are ahead of us. And it hit me, like, what message do we send to our younger people, how the world is, right? There's haves and have-nots, right? So I'm sitting there with him, and he set it up, and he's so good. And I took the bait, and I said, I'm new here, so I don't know a lot of people, but we work laying pipe all the time with contractors. What if I got a group of our contractors and said, hey, could we build a new gym, right? And so we did. We built a brand new gym at Lewis County High School, right? New floor, new sounds, and it was just like, and I'm just one of those minds. I'm like, we can't do it. If we're going to do it, we got to do it right. And so we did it, and it was funny. I got to go to the school board meeting, and again, it's the only public high school in the county, and it's exciting. They're going to get a new gym. And I said to them, they're like, well, what's your ask of us, right? And I said, those are quid pro quo. I want your younger people who are interested to come work at Hope Gas in the future, right? That's my quid pro quo with you. And I'm going to build a training facility in Clarksburg, and I'm going to create, it hadn't got its name, Hope Academy. We had to get a branding company to come up with that. No, it was too obvious. And we want to build hope, right, for the next generations. And I left the school board meeting, and I had all these mothers thanking me, not about the gym. They all were excited about the gym, but opening doors for their kids for the next future that kept them here in West Virginia, right? It was, and so the Coliseum was exciting. Lewis County blows it away in my heart. So just putting two dots together, West Virginia is big on getting new basketball coaches. I don't know if anyone of you follow the basketball program, but they get new basketball coaches. So they're never from West Virginia. They're always the new guy. And so all of a sudden, I'm not the new guy in Morgantown. So I have lunch with the basketball coach, and he's like, I got 14 kids who've never stepped foot in the state of West Virginia. They're all in NIL. They're through the portal, right? They've never been, they didn't go to high school here. And I said, you know what would be great if they came down to a high school in West Virginia and had a day where kids could just meet them. And so he brought the whole basketball team down to Lewis County this summer, and the kids in Lewis County got to work out with the WVU basketball team. And I'm like, these kids now, and this is the best line. So one of the kids on the WVU basketball team, he's like, I've never been to West Virginia before. He's like, we are deep in West Virginia here. And I'm like, you're not even close. But I said to the basketball coach, I don't know whether you're going to win games this year or not, but you got some good kids. And they were getting to, and seeing the joy of what they brought here. Like to me, that's what companies like ours, what institutions like this can do that doesn't have to be on TV, doesn't have to be on the radio, right? It's like touching people where they live in their communities. My employees feel so much more prouder of those kind of things than even the Coliseum, right?
Yeah, they've got to go down to like McDowell and Mingo County, and that's where I was driving that camper van around. And
Yeah,
I got to really see.
the 55 counties, they were not deep.
Right, yeah, they've got a long way to go. One of the things you talked about briefly here that we've also done is instituted a living wage for employees. Can you talk about how you came to that decision?
Well, it was funny, and it became so. I'll just tell you the bad side of Morgan O'Brien. I'm from Pittsburgh, right? So like all that, right? I'm not a West Virginian, but Pittsburgh is a big union town, right? And unions are just things. I grew up, and I just took it as a matter of fact. And the one thing I know people say good or bad things about unions is workforces get paid fair salaries, have good benefits, have pensions, and it's sort of an assurance that people are treated fairly. And so I met with the building trades here in West Virginia and said, I don't want to sit here and ask every employer like whether they pay people fair wages or not. I'm just going to hire people that hire from your hall, right? And it was funny. So most of my employees belong to the union that work with us, and I asked them first, and I just said, hey, we're going to take a different approach here. And they were just like, that's who we want to be, right? That's the company we want to be. We want to make sure that the people that work for us are paid and treated fairly. And I was at one of these business conferences, and the CEO of Ford had this great revelation. It was an incredible revelation. And he was walking down his assembly line, and one of his union workers said, you have beaten the unions down so badly that in order for me to feed my family, I have to work 3 jobs, right? And I was like, I don't ever want to be that guy. I don't ever want to be in that situation, right? My workers, the people that work for us, that they can work 1 job and support a family here in West Virginia, like that's who Hope Gas has to be. And I'll just say it, my employees are huge believers in it, and we don't even talk about it anymore. It's a given.
That's great. So I've got 2 more questions, then we'll kick it off to the audience.
Yeah.
I think a lot about how we support the work you do. Can you talk about the importance of higher education for Hope Gas and for other industries in West Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a list of the incredible assets here in West Virginia, and I've been getting educated. I did a lot of talking tonight, but I love to listen and I love to learn, and I've learned. I'll say it, all the aspects of WVU. We're learning about Fairmont State, learning about Marshall, all the incredible institutions here. And literally this year, we opened the door for an internship program, first time we've done it, and we wanted to make sure we touched all those universities because we want to have relationships, right? And to me, it's not only educating young people that there are jobs here, but how do they get those jobs? And then, and I'll just say it because, people ask me all the time who are in college, what should I be looking for in an employer, right? And I always say to them, and mostly because I'm really proud of who we are, is your values, like who you are, needs to align with the company where you go work. Because in order for you to be successful, you have to be yourself, right? You can't be something that you're not. And maybe there are people that could do that. I was never close to that. I had to be in a place where I was allowed to be who I am. And I tell younger people, it's not a question you think about when you're starting your career, but it's critically important that you be who you are and that align with what your company's doing. And if you can match those two, you can light a fire, right? And you can become something that you may not even envisioned, right? You may be sitting here and be president of Fairmont State one day, right? Just by having a fire lit because you could be who you are, right? So I'll just say it, a really important aspect. And for me at Hope, I'm really proud of the company and the people who work and create Hope. But we want to learn and educate people that there are doors that are open and we need them. And there are lots of different job opportunities beyond people who just you see in the street or answer your phone when you call Hope Gas. We've got every major that's probably offered at Fairmont State. I probably have somebody in my company that needs that education.
Sounds good. We'll send them your way.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last question, and you can go back and watch the other presidential speaker series talks to know I didn't set this up just for you. But yeah, I think you and I are both optimistic people. I think we see the best what's to come. And like you said during your talk, I don't think people always see society that way. So what makes you hopeful for the future? And I do ask everyone that, so it's not just a hope gas question.
I mean, I would just say this. So what I do in my job, I do a lot of different things, probably none of them very important, but I convince people who can invest their money lots of places to invest here in West Virginia. So I am quietly and privately a big seller of West Virginia. And it's not just West Virginia today, but it's what's out there in the future. When we invest money, it's for the next 40 years. It's the next 50 years, right? And so I have been in the energy side of it. John talked about, being on the electric side up in Pittsburgh. There is no more exciting time in the energy world than right now, right today. Like we have finally as a country said, we need more energy. So let's stop sitting here picking our energy sources and let's just create as much energy as we can. And I'll just say it, if that's this country's philosophy, nowhere better than West Virginia. That story about Columbus, Ohio, I sit and talk about people who are doing things all around here, and I literally say every day to them, if you did it in West Virginia, we're never going to run out of energy, and it will always be cheaper. And I'm like, I don't need to market a whole lot more on my world, but then you meet the people, and you meet the incredible education institutions that are here, and it's sitting there. I brought one high-tech company into West Virginia, and they are going to build the plant in Bridgeport, and they looked at all the kids they were hiring, and they were all from West Virginia schools. And they said, we didn't even realize it. We were hiring them up in Pennsylvania, and they were all graduating from more from West Virginia schools, and not just WVU, but also Fairmont, Marshall, and Wesleyan. They said we were shocked at how many kids from West Virginia we were hiring. And they say, put that on top of everything else here, like it's a kept secret, and you're a big part of the kept secret, and I'm hoping I can help let your secret out, because I do think the educational institutions, particularly Fairmont State and what you guys are doing here, that's a secret that employers and companies need to learn more about.
We'll put that in our next ad.
There you go.
I've got a lot more questions, but I want to make sure that we give the audience time to ask their questions. So we've got a microphone going around, so raise your hand and ask your questions.
Did it work? Okay. I'm a little further out of town than you guys, but I love Fairmont and I love West Virginia more than probably most. This place is giving me my life. My question is, and I love the fact that you guys are building the Hope Academy, because if we can teach the next generation to know what to do and get great jobs, is awesome. But for those of us that don't know what skills it even takes to work at Hope, what are the things that are going to be taught, and what are the jobs that they would be looking for?
And so if you take a step back, so we moved the corporate headquarters here, right? And that's when I say Hope is headquartered here. The CEO, CFO, CIO, HR, legal, every discipline, right, is here in West Virginia, right? And so we literally, I mean, you could take energy out of our, I'll call it what we do for how we create value in the communities, and we have everything every company would have, right? So every discipline, doesn't matter what major you are here, we need you, right? So it's all that. So that's why our partnerships, these internships, work studies, the things that we want to start creating on our side, which goes beyond the Hope Academy, is really about, I'll just say it, the kids who don't go to college, right? That's a lot of the people I grew up with. A lot of the people that work for me didn't go to college. We've got lots of opportunities for kids who go to college, and it touches all that. But how do you become a blue-collar worker? And I'll just say it, as I was touring West Virginia, and I visited a lot of the VOTEC schools, very few of them had natural gas, I'll just say it, education. And a lot of my workers had to go to Oklahoma and had to go to Texas, and then they came back to West Virginia because now they had experience. And that's the part I'm working hard to try to avoid. And so we are building in Clarksburg, right off 79 off 50 there, right below the Wonder Bar. Not that anyone knows restaurants, John, but a few of us guys do, right? We're building a state-of-the-art training facility that literally everything you do in the real world, you'll be able to do there. We partnered with all the VOTEC schools in West Virginia to build miniature houses. So somebody can go into a house and they can go into a basement and find a leaking furnace. They can find a stove that's leaking. We can replicate everything they're going to see in the real world in a controlled world. And we're also working with the federal government on what happens when the world at some point might go from natural gas to hydrogen. And so we're literally creating natural gas into hydrogen, flowing it through pipes in a controlled setting, right? This is a controlled world. My workers are learning what's different about hydrogen than natural gas. It's the next step, and we don't want the world ever to say, okay, we've had enough gas, time to get to cleaner energy, right? We want it to just be a nonstop. And so that's a training world that my employees is really valuable for the people that work for me, but also, I'll call it for the next generation. And for us, creating summer jobs and just call it work opportunities that they can actually see what those jobs are and figure out if that, I'll just say it, lights a fire for them and creates something that hopefully becomes a career. And we say, come work with your hands. And by the way, if you want to go back to college later, right, those doors don't close, right? We have programs that hopefully we'll create with the universities that can allow my employees to also keep growing and becoming. I say to everyone, if you're CEO of a company, you want everyone that works for you to become the best version of themselves. And if you can create that, that's really powerful. And so from the moment they walk in, we're working with our unions to create apprentice jobs. We're creating a whole food chain of kids. They don't have to go to Oklahoma. They don't have to go to Pennsylvania and learn the industry and then come back to where their families are. They can stay here, right? That to me is, I'll just say it, our mission with Hope Academy. So.
I don't necessarily have a question, but earlier we talked, and I told you I'm a truth teller for a living. But coming in here, it tells me a lot about who you are, that you handled that rate increase right up front. You know, a lot of people would have come in here and hid from that and not discussed it, not even brought it up. And the fact that you explained it and were thorough with it and explained how it makes sense and where you are, I think I commend you for that. The second thing is, my wife and I share courtside seats at Fairmont State basketball. I will kick her out for one game. You come sit with me. Enjoy the game.
I know the athletic director now.
There you go.
I'm in.
You come sit down. We'll have a great time. Come watch Fairmont State basketball.
I'm a huge basketball fan.
And I guess you gave up the Pitt game for tonight, so we appreciate that too.
That wasn't even on the table. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Morgan. So I'm a commissioner of Calhoun County, and which
Yep.
you guys had mentioned that earlier. And
Yeah, one of my favorite places.
absolutely. And you've been down several times, and I know we've met. But I just want to take it a little step farther to really attest to what this gentleman is saying. They have done so much for our county. The workers in Grantsville have been out to our parks. My daughter's in the welding at the Calhoun Gilmer Career Center. You guys come in and painted their new booths, even donated some welders.
Yep.
Just recently, our park board is, they're all pretty elderly, and they were having trouble getting around the park at 200 acres, and you guys just donated a side-by-side to them. So it's really amazing to see exactly what you guys do. You know, we can watch you on TV, we can see your podcast, and see you on podcast, but Calhoun really does feel it, and we are appreciative. So if you're looking for a family to adopt you,
All right.
Calhoun
I'm in. I'm in.
absolutely love to. So
I'm
thank
in.
you very much.
Yeah, no, and I'll just say this, right? This is where I learned this a long time ago. I can become a great leader by really just letting my employees be who they are, right? And we talked about what should students look for. The people at Hope, they are who they are, and literally, like, they'll call me, and I'm like, you guys know what's right. Like, we joke, right? We have all these rules. We're compliance, highly regulated industry, and so I argue with a lot of people, but I argue with my lawyers, and I always say to them, so forget about rules and guidelines, right? We hire good people who do good things. If I said tomorrow there were no rules, would they just walk in and rob a bank or steal something? And they'd be like, no, they're such good people. And it's like, so why don't we just let them be who they are? And so my big message to those folks, particularly the people that you know who they are, I thank them, and I say, you be who you are, and I'll cheer you on, and at some point I'll be sitting at Fairmont State and a commissioner might give me credit for it. So keep being who you are. And honestly, like, to me, that's, you know, the mission in life is, right, to find purpose, and our guys have found purpose. And to me, that's, I hope, for the next generation of workers, it's not just about skill sets, it's not just going to a place that gives you opportunities to do the things that you've learned, but to be who you are, right? And really just, I'll just say it, have purpose. You've got to align yourselves up with who you are. And I'm so blessed to be here. And I see this as a gift, and I'm trying not to screw it up. And I tried not to do it with the rate increase. We survived it, and we all came out of it as we talked about. But there's just so much opportunity here in this state, and it should touch everywhere. It shouldn't just be in Morgantown. It shouldn't just be in Fairmont. It should be in Calhoun and Madison and Parkersburg and all the places, right? We need to make sure that it's rippling through West Virginia, and that's why I'm most excited about what the future looks like. But thank you.
We have one student from Calhoun County, so please send more away. They've got another year and a half, so we've got all 55 counties covered, but please send more away.
And an alumni, yeah. This is the student government. Here we go.
Yes,
I'm
you
fearful.
remember. I'm Sophie Stewart, student government president. We talked earlier about how you're advocating for university students or younger people to stay in West Virginia after they graduate, which I really appreciate. I stand for that heavily. But my question is, how do you quickly convey that to a college student or to a high schooler who may be looking at education elsewhere in a short conversation?
Yeah, and honestly, it's just, I'll just say it this way. One, and I always tell my employees, life's a journey. You take steps, right? If I could fix that tomorrow, that would be one of my top things I'd fix, right? But what we need to do, right, is develop partnerships with like schools like Fairmont State, right? That not just for me, that gives me access to students and allows me to recruit, but also the freshmen and the sophomores here, to give them chances to come work at a company and open doors and learn a little bit about what's different about, you know, sitting in an office versus sitting in a classroom, 8 hours a day versus maybe a shorter day in the classroom, right? All those things, right, that is part of your education. That's who I aspire to be. I aspire to be that. I'm not that today. I wish before you graduated, you had a chance to come work at Hope Gas in the summertime or after school, right, at some work study. We're trying to explore not only how do we create relationships with students so that, like, if they like us and we like them, right, we can keep that. But it's not just a commercial transaction. It's like we want to be part of it. And, you know, how do we participate in the things that go on down here? I've got technical people? Can they, assist in programs that you're doing, or be a part of some of the education things that go on here? I've learned that particularly students love being exposed to the real world, right? And the real world's here in West Virginia. You don't have to go to Washington, D.C. or New York, right? It's right here. And that's on me and employers to be able to open those doors. And we haven't done it yet. We're starting. We're focused on it. We're here talking about it. So whenever I talk about something, I always say, okay, now I really got to follow up. It's not just something I want to talk about, right? So next year, if I'm here, we can talk about the progress that we're making, the steps we're making, right? And so maybe somebody sitting in your next president of student government says, when I was a freshman, I got to work at Hope Gas, or I did a work study program there, or one of their contractors, or some part that we're a part of, right? That's ultimately what we want to be. So,
I think it's interesting the way you're talking about it, because I think often we've been pitted against each other, right?
Yeah.
It's go to college or go get a job, right? And the way you've talked about it is, you talk to high school students about why they should go to college, so why they should work for Hope Gas. You have people who didn't go to college who work for Hope Gas that now you're going to send back.
Yeah.
And I think those kind of relationships and building that is important, because I think part of the reason why people think college isn't for me is because for too long we've pushed a one-size-fits-all model of higher education, right? But the truth is, if we can work together to meet people where they are, that's how you really help fulfill that promise.
And it's, people say it, but I truly believe it, that if you provide employees all the tools, right? You can't make them take advantage of things, but you provide them tools that these are my words, that they become the best version of themselves, right? And all of us, who knows what that is, right? Looking at a junior who's president of student government here, like, who knows what her best version is, right? But hopefully she goes to a place that unlocks every opportunity that she would want, right? And that, as an employer, you sit there and say, well, why is that in your best interest? Well, it's, as you know, you invest in your employees, training them, teaching them, having them have the values, the skill sets that you have. And so you have just like I hate to say it, like a pipeline that you invest in. You invest in that employee, and to keep them and to let them evolve, go to college, get a master's degree, right? Get a certificate in a particular program, all the things that you guys do here, for me to provide that to my employees so they don't have to say, I like what I'm doing, I like working at Hope, but I want to do more, so I have to go somewhere else, right? Not only do I say no, but I'll help you open those doors, and you don't have to choose. It's sort of the guy who says, I don't want to borrow money, I don't know what I want to do, come work with your hands. And by the way, now you see what other people are doing. Go to school at night. There's all kind of be online, virtual, right? There's so many flavors to education now that I think that's where companies and universities, you guys are battling a tough business model. I struggle with getting good people. Like, we have a vested interest in a lot of the same things.
That's great. Any other audience questions?
Yeah, so you first of all, I just want to say how great Hope Gas is. You employ a couple of people in my family members, so I thank you for that. I'm not sure anybody else really would have taken them. But more of a engineering side question. I'm a mechanical engineer. So obviously right now fossil fuels are the most effective fuel source that we have. Yeah. But with the development of green energy, whether that's, you were talking about hydrogen, geothermal, the list goes on and on. But you keep talking about these 40 and 50-year plans. How do you think green hydrogen or green energy will affect natural gas long term? And do you think that Hope Gas will see a side of that in the future? And also, as a basketball player, men's basketball, we can find you a better seat than with Drew Payton.
All right.
There's plenty of other seats we could find, but
yeah, there's a lot there. So I'll start with I feel blessed to have your family work for my company. So I'll just start with that. So whatever, I know there's probably a family joke in there for you, but you can do what you want with it. I value the employees we have. For me, and I'll just say it this way, and I'm not of your generation, right? The world is going to change so much from where it is today, And I'll just say in the last 5 years, the world has changed dramatically. And I tell everybody every day, and it's how you get excited about the future, is I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. I don't know a year from now what it's going to look like. But my job is to help create the future, not to run from it, but to help create it. And so I'll just say it this way, and this is way more political than I should ever be. The former president was basically not a friend of fossil fuel, right? And so hydrogen was becoming really, really possible and exciting. And we're not going away. We're 127 years, and we have a 127-year business plan, like going forward, right? We are not going away. And I challenge my employees to say, let's not be fearful of the future. Let's create it. Let's show the world what you can do with it, right? So here we are now, right? We went from drill baby drill to build baby build, right? And I so love those words. Like, I so love that, and those words support everything good about West Virginia and that more people should be investing here. But I'm just saying it, like, as we think about the future, we haven't forgotten the conversations that the last administration had, right? And so we are educating ourselves, right, on the next, I'll just say it, the next turn of the table to say, what could natural gas look like in the future, right? And one of the projects we're working on today is the largest fuel cell project in the world. It's actually in Columbus, Ohio. It's not in West Virginia. It takes natural gas, converts it to hydrogen, and it doesn't burn the gas. It actually is a chemical reaction in a fuel cell that creates electricity. And that's a clean answer to how and that plant that I'm serving uses more natural gas than the entire state of West Virginia uses to heat homes. So it's more gas, not less. It's greener than we could ever think about, right? Embracing technology. And it's, to me, it's like who you want to be is, I tell my employees, like, I promise you I don't know what the world's going to look like, but we're going to be a part of it. Like, we're not only going to be a part of it, we're going to help create it. And we're not running from it. And that's, to me, that's how you build a sustainable business model. And West Virginia will be a huge winner in that world. And especially, I'll just say it, with everybody understanding the practicalities of where technology is today, all of a sudden, right, we can't put everything renewable. We can't. The lights don't stay on, right? We want to bring manufacturing back here. We want to have data centers that can power your iPhone, right? You're no longer Googling questions. You're talking to your phone. It's telling you the answer to whatever question you have. That is using 10 times the energy that the old cell phone used, right? So we need, everything we do says more and more energy, and eventually it's going to be greener energy, and natural gas is going to be a big part of that, and we're not running from it. We're embracing it. Yeah.
So we've got a few years on you. We're 160 years old.
And you probably have a 160-year business plan in your pocket.
One of the things I talk a lot about as president is we are constantly looking towards the future, right?
Yeah.
Pushing towards the future. You've talked a little about this tonight, though, but there's got to be that connection back to the past, right?
Yeah,
There's got to be something
100%.
that mattered about the past. How do you do that when you're running so fast towards the future? How do you make sure that you're keeping those? For me, I always say it's the people.
Yeah.
Right, that's the thing that's consistent about Fairmont State year over year. Right, is when our alums come back, they interact with people they went to school with, and that's what matters. And when I talk to our current students, it's the same thing.
So I spend a big part of my job, and I don't talk a lot about it, but I convince. So we have in the 3 years I've been here committed over $2 billion to the state of West Virginia of investment, right? So it's pipelines, it's real money, right? And that money is not West Virginia money. That's from outside of West Virginia, and those people can invest anywhere. But I convince them, you want to invest in energy, you should be in the forefront of West Virginia, right? But the other part of my job is I spend literally one day every single week sitting down with my employees to remind me at the end of the day what we're about. It's the story in Calhoun County, right? It's my employees being part of a community, doing things that really show that community that we're more than just a bill that comes once a month in your home, right? That $18 more a month that I'm taking now, right? Like, what is Hope Gas? It's the people, right? I mean, and it's not Morgan O'Brien, and it's not my executive team. It's the people in the field. So I purposely, my assistant does it literally one day every single week. I go to 2 shops. You know, we have 20 shops in the state of West Virginia, and I start and then I go back and start over and go back and keep doing it. And every day it goes there and it reminds me of who we are, what we're about, and then I'm off the next day convincing people to invest in pipelines and do all the really exciting stuff. But it's your employees and it's being part of a community, right? That's what a utility is. And if you forget that part of it, then your future's not so bright. So.
Thank you. Do we have any final audience questions? All right. Well, I think we got one in the back there. There you go.
So as one of the lucky few in West Virginia who's actively looking for a job, where would you look and say you have a surplus of IT professionals? Where would you suggest looking within the state of West Virginia to find a place to succeed?
Well, and I mean, I would just say this, that like what I see, I would strongly encourage you to apply at Hope Gas. Like we have a great IT team. It's really a strong group. And I would put that as first. But I'll just say this, right? I mean, you look around this state, the medical institutions we have here are unbelievable, and there are incredible things happening there. When I brought a group of investors down and I was getting them, and we were talking in the billions to invest in West Virginia, I had Albert Wright talk about a 60-minute segment, 2 30-minute, 60-minute segments on WV Medicine, the research that goes on there. Like, it is like world-changing stuff that's happening, and their whole technology, IT, innovation, robotics, it has everything. Like, and it's not sort of like we're getting caught up. It's like West Virginia is leading. It's showing the world what to do there. I get excited about, I'll just say it, the technology and how exciting it, and every business in the state, right, technology is becoming more and more integral to it. But the big ones, I would say, one is Hope, and the other one, I would say, the medical institutions here, particularly WV Medicine, is an unbelievable secret. Talk about secrets. It's a huge secret here in West Virginia. So.
Awesome. Well, we know you have a lot of gear from that place up the road, so we want to make sure that you leave with some Fairmont State swag.
I appreciate that.
So there you go.
And this is, I said it in my speech, and I really mean it. First of all, I'm so appreciative for you including me in your series here. I want this to be the beginning of a partnership, not the end of a conversation. So tonight was enlightening for me, but I hope it's just the beginning for where we can go together.
And those of you who are familiar with And those of you who are familiar with this series know that normally we bring in the speaker for the day before or the day of to visit some classes and things, and Morgan is committed to coming back and doing some of those since we weren't able to work those into his schedule today. So we're very excited about that. If you enjoyed yourself today, the next presidential speaker series is February 12th. We'll have Dr. Michael Lee from the College of Charleston in South Carolina will be here. He's a communications studies scholar, and he focuses on how we disagree with each other, how we argue productively, which I think is a very timely topic in our current society. So hopefully we'll see you all again in February. Thank you.